Time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
This town needs an enema.
Okay, I don't know if... Let me pull Dan in. Was it cutting out?
It glitched quite a bit, yeah. I was wondering if that was because you edited it down or if it was just the internet. But
Great, Joe. You broke the internet.
Yeah. Oh,
Joe
well.
McKeel killed the internet now. Oh.
Yeah, well. Yeah, well. That's just the way it is. Oh. No, we're trying to get away from some copyright bots, but we're going to see. We're doing some change ups on some intros and some outros for a week or two, so everybody just deal with that. I want to welcome everybody. Somebody's already thrown a comment in there. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
I see people in here. Let's see. One on your page, Dan. One on Aphelion webpage. One on Stupid O'Clock. And one on YouTube Stupid O'Clock page. So thank you all for tuning in.
We need to get Joe the little hollow mirror frame. And I see Donna, and then you got to be real old to get that, Joe.
Yep.
That's close, Dan. So.
Yeah, I know. I watched Romper Room when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Hello, Walter. Good to have you back.
New member of Uncle Carl's Secret Humor Group.
Really? And he came back to this show? I'll be darned.
Hey, we got a little weird on Green Room last night, so it was rather blue. Yeah, not many people can say that, Walter. He survived the Green Room.
Yeah. We were at the auction fairly late, and so by the time I got back, it was after 10 o'clock, and I had to be up and be at Jenny's to help her on the sale at 7 o'clock this morning. So I knew there was going to be no green room for me last night.
Well, somebody
no green room for you.
Somebody tried to get in, but it seems like they were blocked, and we couldn't figure it out because nobody had blocked anybody. And then I think it was either Carl or Donna said, well, maybe it was somebody had blocked somebody that's here. And that didn't make sense either because everybody that was there was not anyone would object to. So
that you know of.
Well, I mean,
hey, you know,
most of the folks that were there besides me are the reason that people would go to the green room. So
to quote the old song, there must be 50 ways to leave your lover. So,
But yeah.
Yep. And that is either, well, sometimes it's the national anthem because they are anti-American people trying to hassle us. And sometimes, Lord only knows. If you're trying to put a copyright strike on us for the intro music that was on tonight,
good luck, because that guy owns it.
I own that copyright. I composed that music. It is mine and totally mine. It's officially registered, and you can have your lawyers call my lawyers, and I will take all your money that you will ever make for all of your life.
Have your lawyers call Dan's lawyers, and you'll do lunch.
Yeah, your lunch will be dog food from now on because that'll be all you can afford.
Well, it shows you just how well Facebook works when they do the strikes on things like the national anthem or things that that's your stuff.
If you're not part of the Chinese government, Facebook isn't going to pay any attention to what you say.
The virtual HallowCon got a copyright strike on a, what was it, 200-year-old piece of music?
Yeah.
If that wasn't in the public domain, I don't know what would be. I mean,
well, they did release it after I complained or protested or disputed or whatever the hell they call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's now got to the point to where if you dispute, they got this whole thing set up so you can dispute your strikes. Then they send you a letter 2 weeks later and say, oh, because of staffing shortages and COVID, we don't have anybody to review your claim. So we're just going to let it stand.
And it's kind of funny. You got old Zuckerberg who's trying to come up with that new thing, Meta, and nobody trusted enough to go with it. I mean, I keep seeing it advertised all over the darn place, and I haven't heard of anybody going, "Oh yeah, Meta's great." No. Have you?
Hello,
has anybody
Keisha.
heard anything positive about Meta?
No.
Haven't heard anything, period, about Meta. It seems to be one of those things that would like to become a thing.
And what's funny is somebody already owned the name Meta.
Uh-huh.
And is suing Zuckerberg for using the name Meta.
More power to them.
But I think, do they own the name and using it for the same type of thing? Because you can have a name, and if you're using it for something completely different, there's a lot of situations where you can continue to do that.
I'm really unsure about that. If I tried to rename my my Bandcamp page McDonald's, I'm sure I would get some kickback.
Well, nothing like that, but something that's more common. And okay, we'll just use Brian's Rising Tide Network for the reason that he uses that name on that. If somebody else uses the name Rising Tide for, say, a water park, Rising Tide Water Park or log flume ride or whatever, something like that, there are a lot of situations where that is passable, and it just depends on what it is that you have. I was trying to think of the example that was told to me.
If somebody did a remaster of the movie Bride of Frankenstein, but they named it Chick-fil-A.
Which is descriptive and somewhat accurate.
Yes.
in a certain from a certain point
Gruesome
of view.
kind of way. Yes.
Oh heavens. Society is getting just a hair too litigious nowadays. Lawsuits at the drop of a hat for dropping a hat or for not dropping a hat at the right time. Hey, Steve.
And Kiri and Facebook user, who we all know as Keisha.
Yes.
It's like Schwarzenegger showing up and going, I will be back.
Copyrighted catchphrases for 100, Alex. Windstream is now kinetic. Yes. You're exactly right. Windstream is my ISP. Kinetic is now my ISP. They're still the same bunch of people that they were back when they were Alltel, and still your service dropped out every time it rained. So these things, they do happen.
Don't say that. It's raining here right now.
I think you're too far away. Well, no. Knowing Windstream, they've got an Ethernet cable that goes all the way up there.
I think the Wi-Fi that I was about to say pirating, but he's allowing me to use it. So, I think he's got Xfinity on that. That seems to be work fairly well up here. There's always going to be somebody having something to say, whatever. But
you're not pirating it. You're a member.
I'm actually using a guest Wi-Fi. Yeah,
you're a member of a co-op for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gave me the password and everything. I didn't hack into it like a
hey Donna,
Russian bot. Who said that? But
well, we haven't gotten any Russian bots in a while. I used to joke.
Should I say it again?
Yep.
They all got drafted.
Mm-hmm. And most of them were probably in a Russian tank in the Ukraine that is now a planter. Or pulling a plow in the Ukrainian farmer's field.
Well, they're all hanging out around the nuclear power plants, so maybe they're kind of the radiation glowing off of their body is affecting the internet so much that they can no longer hack into other people's accounts.
Well, they supposedly have shut down most of the internet in Russia. Nothing's going outside of Russia, and very little's coming in.
Yeah,
because they don't want anybody in Russia to hear the truth. Imagine that. Damn commies.
I had a smart-ass reply to that, but I don't think I'll use it because we'll probably get in trouble. Self-editing comes very difficult to me.
I had somebody ask me the other day, says, if they asked you to go to Ukraine, would you? I said, no. It says, I'm too old, too fat, need too much dental work. I said, they could hire somebody younger. But it is ironic that for the last 27 years of my life, I pretty much trained how to kill commies. Then the commies went broke. Now they're back.
They're here.
We told you.
It was the next generation, though. These are the young commies that thought they knew everything. they're finding out they didn't.
That's where you act like the parents and you go, I told you, and you're not listening to what I say.
And China, of course, showed their stripes. Here they were telling everybody they're going to be great capitalists, and then they jumped right back into being commies again.
Mm-hmm. It's like a bad habit.
It must be something that's in that little red book that all the commies get that says, hey, it's been 30 years, you need to start some crap again.
It's time to kill off 45% of your population so you can have 2 meals a day.
Have you heard that the Russian government, Vladimir Putin, has reinstated an old World War II award for Russian mothers that have more than 10 children?
What do you get, an extra loaf of bread a month?
$16,000 and a medal.
Okay, you 2 loaves of bread a month. It's about all you can buy with that in Russia.
Yeah, I was going to say, is a loaf of bread $8,000 there?
It's $16,000 in rubles.
Oh.
So, I can distinctly remember a time when nobody wanted rubles. Not even Russians.
Like last week. Oh, yeah, Walter, last man standing. It's Saturday night. I don't have to go to work tomorrow. Anything could happen, but it's also very late at night, so ain't no telling. I could be sitting there telling jokes to myself, or it could be me and Bill talking about music, or it could be half a dozen people. Some of
could be Dan falling asleep.
Hey, no, I probably won't fall asleep. Oh, that reminds me, I haven't had my B12. I will do that here shortly. Next time I have to get up and go to the beer fridge.
Sarah was just
darn. I could have had a B12.
Germany had that problem with their money after the wars. And there was a time, let's say it was after World War I, that because of the Treaty of Versailles, the German mark, you could buy 1 million German marks with $1. And there were people literally having to bring wheelbarrows full of the stuff just to get a loaf of bread.
That has happened in lots of places.
Yeah, the Mother Award. Apparently, the population has been steadily decreasing in Russia for like the last 14 years.
Let them bring in some Mexicans. That'll change.
Really. Although we really don't want Mexicans in the Russian army. They actually might know what they're doing.
Give them some Mexican Coke and be caffeinated for the whole thing.
First time I was stationed in Berlin, you show up there and they send you this thing called Head Start. This is 2-week class where they teach you a little bit of German. They teach you about German culture and street signs and how things work in the city. Like how to buy subway tickets and stuff like that. And then they tell you all about the mission there in Berlin. And then they would tell you about what's going on with the Russians and the French and the British and the East Germans, who technically we don't recognize the East German government in the United States military at the time. They're there, but we don't give them any official status. The Russians want them to have official status and try to force official status, but they weren't part of the Four Powers Agreement, the four Allied powers that signed the treaty after World War II. So they don't count. And then the last thing they do is get in your Class A uniform. And they take you on a tour of East Berlin. So you actually go through Checkpoint Charlie, go down to Alexanderplatz, walk around, look at all the shops and stuff like that. And they take you down. First thing they do is they tell you, get about 50 marks. Just go to the bank, buy you about 50 marks. And then you get your 50 West German marks. They take you downtown to the Zoo Bank because it was the only bank in Berlin that would sell East marks. So you go in there, 50 marks, hand it down there, and you'd ask to get, the East German marks. This guy handed him 50 marks. And 50 marks is a good dinner back in those days. Steak dinner, a few beers. I handed him 50 marks. He reaches up there at the counter and pulls out this big wad of bills. Looks like Monopoly money. He just kept throwing money on the counter like I'd hit a jackpot or something. The West German mark was $3.24 to $1. So you got 3 marks, 24 cents, or 3 marks, 24 pfennigs for $1. So 50 marks is roughly $20, something like that. The exchange rate between West German and East German marks was over 13 to 1.
Whoa. You're going to need a wheelbarrow.
I basically walked out of there with almost 700 East mark. It's literally, it's like somebody gave you if you're going to East Germany, it's like somebody gave you $700. It's ridiculous how much money you had at the end of the day. And some of the stuff I bought over there just was ridiculously inexpensive too. I bought a set of draftsman's compasses on the little for doing drafting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bought a set of those, very nice quality. And then I bought a little remote control T-54 tank, about big, about the size of a shoebox, and it lasted about a month before it broke. But we did have fun using it as a target for the tow trackers. Let me see. I did 2 tours in West Berlin, 85 and 86, and then went back in 88 all the way up to 91. So, almost 92. I left in December of 91. Yes, I was there when the Berlin Wall came down. And let's see, what was his name? Dan Rather. I got to rub shoulders with Dan Rather that weekend. That was kind of nice. Felt bad for him. He had to stand there in an overcoat all damn night.
It's breaking news.
You'd think these guys would have like a trailer or a Mercedes to sit in and stay warm. I'll give the man credit. He stood out there in the cold for at least 8 hours that I saw. And maybe went over to use the bathroom in the building next door. So that's about it.
Wonder if Edward R. Murrow did that during the war.
Only when the bombs actually started falling.
Oh. Would that have been the War of 1812 or what?
WW2.
I see what he's saying. Yes, we had an embassy in East Berlin, but the U.S. military did not recognize the East German military for being we weren't supposed to have German troops in the Allied area of occupation in the city of Berlin. We weren't supposed to have any Germans in the British zone, the American zone, the French zone, or the Russian zone. The Russians broke that. So they actually broke the 4-power agreement. And
Yes, Chris, we see you.
No, we see your name, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, seen it in the post office just today.
Ah,
Did you see that somebody made the FBI most wanted list or something here in from Chattanooga?
oh, local celebrity.
Yeah, tell me
Heard he got banned on Facebook first.
that. No, I think he owns Facebook. Well, we finally got some rain. Kind of happy there.
Mm-hmm.
We've been getting rain all day.
We've been
Same
getting
here.
rain for a month
Still
and
raining.
a half. If the price of wood wasn't so high, I'd think about building an ark.
Make it out of plastic water bottles.
We don't buy plastic water bottles.
You don't have to buy them. Just go look out near the road.
Well, that's true. It probably. Well, you know, if I picked up all the damn beer cans other people threw out, I probably could afford the damn canal boat that I'd like to buy, which is like $250,000. But it's built in Holland and freighted to England. And then I'm going, I don't live in England. I'm not going over there just to go fishing. You know, that'd be a hell of a weekend. $1,000 round trip air ticket for a couple of brim and maybe a carp. No.
So last night at the auction, I didn't see a whole lot of. Well, I missed out on one thing, but I won't even go into that. I'm just so mad at myself. I was hauling something out to the car, and I come back, but anyway, I did get something rather interesting, and and it's in the other room. I meant to bring it in. The Sony Walkman cassette player and AM/FM radio from the 80s. And I had seen somewhere that I think on one of the other eBay sellers sites where she was having some really good luck with it, selling these things. So I got looking up sold prices on them. And this one here, and this is an actual sold price for $199.99. There's some of them that are $20 less that are saying for parts only, so it doesn't work. And that I brought mine home, put a couple double A's in it, and everything works fine. The only and it has the strap and the original headset. It's missing the little black foam ear cover, the covers that go over the earpieces, which I can get replacement ones for that, or maybe even original ones from another one for it. Fine, but mine, to all intents and purposes, it still has the original strap and everything on it, and it's in decent shape. And first thing when I look at things like that, I always check the battery compartment, see if it's roached out or not. But it was fine. And well, now, those of you who remember the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie where Star-Lord took the Sony Walkman.
I'm gonna leave, guys. I can't. I'm sorry.
Take it easy.
It's all right. It's all right, Joe.
We'll
Don't
holler
worry.
at you.
Yeah. Well, take care of yourself. But anyway, the one he was using was actually the first Sony Walkman model that originally came out in '79 when
Right,
they were
so-
brand new.
The silver ones.
Yeah, kind of a bluish silver. And anyway, so not only because it was the first one, but because of that movie, here's the current sold price on one of them right now, and that it's just a cassette player. It this was before they put the radio and everything in
I've
it. I've
got that one. I've got the Mark II with the AM/FM radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine is, I think the model number is
and had earbuds instead of the orange thing headphones.
Yeah, mine had the actual expandable headsets that said Sony on them. They got, but yeah, let's see, the model number of mine's WM-F8, I believe. But so yeah, I paid $2 because nobody else bid on it. And Laura bought, of all things, but she has a good eye for a lot of stuff that's selling. They had a pop vinyl figure. I can't think of his last name from the Fast and Furious movie. The guy's last name is Connor. Can't think of the first name, but anyway, it's a pop vinyl figure of him. Still in the box, never opened and all that. So, and I think she got it for around $20, and they're selling for $75 or $80 for that one particular one. And through all the stuff that we were going through with the toys last year, I never would have thought she would have bought another toy again. But when you can have a big turnover like that with it, you would be dumb not to, if that's what you do. And I haven't even, I don't sell on eBay or anything like that. She's wanting to get me into it, and I might someday, but there are other sites too, or even locally or whatever. But I just remember having this particular Sony one with AM/FM radio when it was new, and that was the reason why I wanted it. But then something told me, check on it. You never know. And now, but it was kind of fun. And
oh, sorry, Donna. Evidently they got a big storm there. She's going to have to log out for safety's sake. Don't want to be online and running the computer when a very close strike comes in through the wires.
Yeah, it was thunder and lightning here about an hour or two ago, which I know that part probably already went through Danville, if it actually hit it, because I'm about 10 miles away from them. But I know we're supposed to get it all night tonight at some point or another. And then it'll...
Oh,
yeah. Your mic's off, John.
No, it isn't. You just said thunderbolt and lightning, and it just,
Oh.
He didn't want to get us a copyright strike by actually vocalizing the lyrics. I
was lip syncing.
Yesterday was my mother's 85th birthday. We took her to Texas Roadhouse. She had a great time, but the salad she ordered turned out to be large enough for a Clydesdale. seriously. I mean, came in a very large bowl. She thought it was going to be just a little bitty thing to go with her steak, but no. And there's also my my oldest daughter's 50 53rd birthday, 52nd or 53rd. I can't remember. I wasn't there at the time, so. And Lindsay and I went by and dropped her off a birthday present and a card. Unfortunately, one of her kids has strep throat, and she told us, "Look, don't come in because we don't want to be responsible for any health problems for elderly people like us."
Well, and you got to remember, polio's making a comeback now.
Not in my neck of the woods. I've got the scar to prove it.
Well, other countries, but then New York's going through it right at the moment.
Hey, you start showing pictures of kids in iron lungs for 20 or 30 years before they get over it.
Yeah.
Maybe there won't be that much of a backlash when the vaccinations come out again.
Yeah.
We had that shit knocked out.
Isn't that one of the standard school ones though? They quit doing that.
I don't know if they quit doing it or not around
here. No, they still
across the sea. They don't have the same requirements as we do for school vaccinations. So.
And then you got a lot of the anti-vaxxers.
That's one of those self-solving problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all these people that complain about not wanting to wear seat belts or motorcycle helmets or bicycle helmets, stuff like that. That's a problem that solves itself.
Mm-hmm. Think of it as evolution in action.
Yeah. I'm all about don't make seat belts mandatory, don't make motorcycle helmets mandatory, and that problem will take
the warning labels off of everything. Nature will take its course. You know, when you have to have instructions on a pack of toothpicks, civilization may not be as stable as you thought it was. Darwin Awards, yes, Rich. Darwin Awards, that's exactly it. We read those every year when they come out. Some of them make you cringe, and some of them go, way to go, good deal. Yep, definitely earned that one.
Well, you get people like Jenny McCarthy and them that are just preach the heck out of, these, vaccines are going to kill you. Don't let your kids do it. Do
Well, I would take her
some sort of holistic thing that obviously is not going to get them anywhere.
I would take her seriously if she had two functioning brain cells to rub together to make a spark, but that ain't happening. That's an amoeba's desperate cry for help right there. Just if she had gone into a lake that had the flesh-eating, brain-eating bacteria, they would starve to death. Seriously. And there's probably some religious institution invented by a science fiction writer on a bit that is behind a lot of that. I hope I was inspecific enough to where we don't get a copyright strike or anything on that one, but yeah, Rich. I think I'll go ahead and put that one up here. Exactly. Yeah.
You mean the one that I thought was Stephanie's cat was named after? Or sounds closely to.
sounds close to, yeah. Mm, they waited till he was dead before they started making movies out of his books. Yeah.
And the thing about it is, if somebody wants to go a different direction on the way that they medicate themselves or what have you, more power to you. It's, you do whatever you think is going to be best for yourself, your body, and your family, but don't allow that to affect my family because of the mentality and that. And I'm not being demeaning by saying the mentality, but it's just that
sometimes demeaning is called for, though.
Well, I like the situation with the polio thing. Right now, very few actual severe cases. Most of it is fairly mild stuff, but it's always going to be that one case where somebody is just crippled or they're dead that's going to bring the rest of it on. And I mean, you can't ignore that. Even if the percentages say don't worry about it, or it's not as common as what it was like back in the 50s when you were kind of alluding to it earlier. There's still a risk, no matter what the risk is. It's a risk.
Sarah, I think your autocorrect struck because the next to the last word of that is several words that should have some punctuation of some sort in there, and it seems to have just squashed it all together into one franken word.
Unless she's trying to share a website with us, but I don't see a .com in there.
Nope. And I almost understand it. I think I do get the general gist of the statement, but
Sarah, type it phonetically for Dan.
I once did a joke where it's like a Hooked on Phonics commercial where I'd pick up a 10,000 page book or whatever and go, I'm hooked on phonics. I'm running out of books. A mind is a terrible thing to get wasted with. Typing English, thinking in German. Yeah. Knowing what I do about the Indo-European languages, and which is I'm not a teacher, and I did not study this stuff. I just picked up bits and pieces, sort of like English grammar. It runs other languages down dark alleys and thumps them in the head and goes through their pockets for loose grammar. There's a lot of English that would make a little bit of German comprehensible, but then there's a lot of English that makes French and Spanish and Italian comprehensible.
Well, it's like kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's the German idea.
Basic German word, yeah.
And school, they say Schule. It's spelled Schule. We say it like they spell it. They spell it like we say it.
far out, man.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Pretty good. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing
Yep.
alright. I just got home from an cosplay event.
What was
couple-
it? Give us some details.
Yeah, really.
Oh, it was my local cosplay group. We were doing an event that the local library was hosting, and it was quite an interesting event. We had the weather become unpredictable for a while. I know we've had like a tree blow down. Thankfully, nobody was hurt, and the tree wasn't anywhere near anybody at the time of the thunderstorm we had. But it was an interesting event.
Now, what city was this in?
It was in the Sunny Daisy area, just north of Chattanooga.
I say.
Been through there a couple of times on my way somewhere, as you do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Rich wants to know how did it go because you were nervous about it last week.
Oh, it was in that event. That I was nervous about. It was a different event that I was. It was a different thing that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So.
Oh, so you're still nervous? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
best of luck, and in the spirit of the theater, break a leg.
Thanks.
Everything will work out. I have faith in you. Uh, yeah, Rich, German has a tendency to just run words together into freakish super words. Hence my statement of Frankenword, which is kind of in the spirit of it. Even though Mary Shelley was not German, she did spend some time in that vicinity. Was Lake Geneva, wasn't it, where the Shelleys and Lord Byron had their little vacation, where not only was Frankenstein written, but one of the first ever vampire stories was written, and I believe there was a third literary.
Lord Byron,
Mhm.
John William Polidori,
Yep,
and it was they were all, and the Shelleys, of course.
the Shelleys
Uh,
and their cousin.
The couple, it was. Oh, wait a minute. Let me read all this here.
Mary and Percy Shelley, and I can't remember the other
Stepsister
ladies.
Claire Claremont,
Yes, there you go, Claire.
and then let me see. And
And
they were there
Polidori
with
and Byron.
Lord Byron and John William Polidori near Geneva, Switzerland,
Hmm.
and that's where she got the staying in a castle up there on the lake somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where she got the idea for the novel Frankenstein.
Yeah, they had there was a stormy weekend, and they couldn't go out. They couldn't go out on the lake in a boat, and they decided to have a story writing competition, and who could write the best horror story. And Polidori wrote a story that concerned uh, somebody who could be mistaken for Lord Byron if you squint really hard, and he was basically a vampire. And Mary Shelley came up with Frankenstein, and Claire, I don't believe anybody remembers what she wrote. Byron wrote something that I should remember, but I don't.
He was a poet, wasn't he?
Well, he was a polymath. He did a lot of things. And Shelley wrote a poem, I do believe, and I can't remember which one. It's been
Was
a long
English
time.
poet and peer.
Hmm.
What does that mean?
Uh,
Peerage of the United Kingdom. one of the 5 peerages.
Came from a wealthy titled family, basically.
Royal jerk.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. He could be. He could also be quite charming. He had a hobby of being eccentric. He wasn't naturally eccentric. He just
He actually he joined the Greek War of Independence fighting the Ottoman Empire and wound up catching some fever after the first and second sieges of Missolonghi, which was strategically important port town.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he got sick while sitting. That's a big problem with sieges: starvation and diseases.
Yep. You can't go out and get food, and you've got all these people trapped together. Sound familiar? Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
What I was telling you backstage about a birthday of a science fiction author I knew that you liked, I went to go look it up, and apparently I deleted it, but I will at least tell you that today would be the birthday of H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, yes.
And
very troubled young man.
Yeah, they alluded to that quite a bit in this. And I get this stuff. Okay, I get an email every day from Garrison Keillor, and it's a little 5-minute, 6-minute spot that he would do on NPR radio called The Writer's Almanac. And it's kind of a this day in history of what happened in history and writers, music, everything. It's even though it's called The Writer's Almanac, it kind of encompasses a lot. And a lot of times it's boring as piss, but a lot of times it's very interesting. And this one was. And he always ends the little segment with a poem that might have to do with a particular event happening this day or week or whatever. And then sometimes nothing at all. Usually it's season related. And I've actually reposted a lot of the poems that he put on there on my Facebook, and I haven't done any lately, but and but anyway, but I enjoy it most of the time. Really, and he actually he was doing this, making these little spots every day for the last 30 years or so. Recently, just back at the end of July, decided to stop doing it, but they're replaying older ones from it would be the same date. So like the one from today would have been, this date, but like might have been 2011 or something like that. But he has a way of making things interesting.
Yeah, he always has. I mean, that was one of the big things that drew people to the show. And he himself is a natural-born storyteller, although choosing radio or, in some cases, video to be his media rather than print. There's something about Lovecraft. Yeah. Lovecraft was an Anglophile. He loved anything English, and he felt like he had been born way too late, and if he had been born during the U.S. Revolutionary times, he would have been on the wrong side of that particular conflict. He would have been a royalist, and he's very proud of that. Uh, he pioneered the form of writing stories that were very evocative of a mood rather than highly descriptive. He'd also pioneered purple prose, but I do believe somebody else beat him to that by several hundred years. But it was very long on description and telegraphed plot a lot of the times. But if you go through it and you read it, and you can overlook his overt racism, you can get from the descriptions that he provides that it gives you this sense of the eerie and the terrifying, and it slowly builds to the ultimate the pinnacle of the story, and then goes for a shocking twist at the end, and that's a format that a lot of people have used to great advantage from then till now, but very, very atmospheric, pretty much in the way it was written. You really got a sense of might have been some fictional place, but you got a sense of how disturbing it was to be in that fictional place. You might not have gotten a really great picture of what it looked like, but you got a great picture of what it felt like. Sound like a literary critic, don't I?
You are a literary critic.
Book reviewer used to be, but and then I know a little bit about writing, and mostly is that I don't do it as often as I should. Life has a habit of getting in the way, and that's probably an excuse. I could force myself to quit wasting my time and having fun and get down to the serious matter of writing more stuff. But having fun is very important too.
You got to keep the balance, I think, and how balanced you are or how content or eager you are, I think probably shows in your work sometimes. I know it does in mine, for good or ill.
Well, I get enthusiastic about stuff, and I'll go full tilt for a while, and then it'll get to a point where I've got to stop and regroup, or I'll run up against the dreaded writer's block. You get so far in something, and you can't figure out the next sentence, so you occupy your mind with doing something totally different, and in the back of your mind, what you got stalled out on is still percolating, even though you're not consciously aware of it. It's still going on back there. I mean, I've got like 6 novels going on in the back of my head right now, but it's not like I'm hearing every word. It's subliminal, basically. I mean, they're kind of, as I said, percolating. They're not quite ready for the written word yet, or the
They're
next
simmering.
word. Exactly, simmering. Like a good gumbo, the spices are blending and getting stirred up a little bit. And when the time is right, when the words finally do start flowing again, it'll be like a fire hydrant. It's going to be full tilt until the next roadblock shows up.
So basically, in your best John Houseman voice, I will write no line before it's time.
Mr. Williams, the theater needs you. I'm going off to sell Volvos.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can bet. You can guess who I stole that one from. I only steal from the best.
I've been watching John Houseman, a reoccurring character on Silver Spoons, from the 80s, with Ricky Schroeder and
Aaron Gray and
Aaron Gray from Battlestar Galactica.
No, from
Buck
Buck
Rogers.
Rogers.
Or no, Buck Rogers. I
21st
mean,
century.
yeah, same difference, but
It was another Glenn Larson production. Yes.
yeah.
I need to find better geeks. I'll tell you.
What you talking about, Willis? Doom.
And the bad part is, Bill is really big in the 70s and 80s TV.
But a lot of it's a blur, though. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, the problem is Silver Spoons was not a cartoon. Otherwise, Bill would know it front, back, center, and sideways.
true. I had to the sketch I posted today on the artwork of Bill Sorton, and then on my personal page was Woodsy Owl, and somebody made a comment about, and I told them, or they put a link into the 1972 animated video with the song on there, and anyway, the one of my friends on there said, yeah, they said, I don't know who that is that sings that song, but he kind of made references to hippies from another time or something or other. I forget what he said. And I thought, I know the voice. And I couldn't think. And my first thought was, which I knew was wrong, but I was thinking of Bob Duros, that did or not all, but a good amount of the Schoolhouse Rock video songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm Just a Bill, Conjunction Junction, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought, that can't be right. So I Googled it, like Laura tells me all the time, Google it. And it's actually someone I would not have thought of, John Bermuda Schwartz, who was the drummer for Weird Al's band.
Yeah.
And he was doing this, well, like I said, that first animated video, well, the only animated video. After that, they were doing all the woodsy costumes, were the live action commercials. But that first one was from 72, and he would have been fairly young if the Wikipedia was right on that. I mean, I'm talking like maybe 15, 16 years old or whatever, but the voice obviously doesn't sound that young. I mean, it does sound like something like Bob Durrell's or one of the other ones that did all the Schoolhouse Rock songs would do. It's just that very distinctive voice and that. But then, of course, as we know, the live action ones, they had how many people voice acting Woodsy Owl? I mean, you had Sterling Holloway who did Winnie the Pooh, and Frank Welker, and there's about 3 or 4 other ones on that. And then that's when they changed the song to the one that everybody knows, the Give a Hoot, Don't Pollute song. But yeah, the first one was, I don't know, I just had a personal love for it. But it was one of those things again where, like, oh, I know who that is, I can't think of the name. And then when I actually find out, I'm like, whoa, I was really off. And
yeah, but you'd be surprised at how many actors start out that young. I mean, look at Billy Mooney. Look at Mickey Dolenz. He started. They all.
Both of the Howard boys.
Yep, both of the Howard boys. You're exactly right.
But my thing is, they all sounded young. They didn't sound like a middle-aged man from the Midwest or something like that, like this in this animated one.
Well,
I have to post
George
that.
Was a big guy, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah.
He had the space in his lungs for some resonance there. Kurt Russell, yes, indeed, Rich, you're exactly right. Kurt Russell. I remember him from the first. It's probably the first time that I noticed Kurt Russell was in a Lost in Space episode, and then he started turning up on Disney movies, and still going strong today. Don't like it when he's a villain.
No.
Does a very good Santa Claus.
What about from Escape from New York, where he was with the eye patch and everything?
Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken,
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. He does the anti-hero very well as well. Yes.
Oh, what was the other one? The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
I played the anti-hero on that one too.
Are there 3 of those now? Based on the John Carpenter one, they did a prequel about the Norwegian base that first encountered the Thing, and then there's the John Carpenter The Thing, and I think there was another one, and then there was the 1950s version, which I dearly love.
The Thing from Outer Space.
Yes.
James Arness.
The thing I love about that is the crosstalk, the characters talking over one another like people actually do. You're in a room with 20 people, and there are 12 conversations going on at once, back and forth and back and forth. And nowadays you don't really think about it that much, but you in the back of your mind, you got to wonder how can you keep track of several conversations at the same time, but it just comes natural to you because it's what you grew up with. Nowadays, it's like being in different chat rooms or streaming channels or whatever at the same time, and just bouncing back and forth, and it does make sense, but not if you stop and think about it. It's the centipede's dilemma. If he had to stop and think about which foot to move forward next, he'd probably trip and fall.
I know when Escape from New York came out, we saw it at the movie theater. And, you think Kurt Russell, and then, of course, you think Disney, computer who wore tennis shoes, things like that. And then you see how he looks in here, and it's like, oh, my God, this is the love child of Nick Fury, And I don't mean the Marvel Cinematic Universe Nick Fury. I mean the real one.
They're both real.
John...
alternate universes, but they're both real.
Well, the original universe. Classic
616
Marvel. Classic Marvel, not new Marvel. Classic Coke Marvel.
That's true. They did put
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the David Hasselhoff Nick Fury?
That would have been a
Because that was
third
kind of
universe.
that was technically was the
Yeah.
original Nick Fury. So
No, the
No, I'm
original Nick
talking
Fury
about-
was in print.
Yeah, I'm talking about Steranko Nick
Yeah.
Fury.
In print.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wild mod looking 60s.
because strangely enough, David Hasselhoff actually did a pretty good job as Nick Fury.
Yes.
The production was horrible, but
Yes.
he did a pretty good job. So
It was
you know how
basically Michael Knight with an eye patch and an attitude.
Yeah.
No, he had the cigar and the attitude too. So
Yeah.
You know how I'm always making references to Third Rock from the Sun because I never saw it when it was new, and now I'm seeing it. You know, and they're all new to me. I saw the episode where John Lithgow was going to get cosmetic surgery on his face to look like Harrison Ford or as close or whatever. And the surgeon was David Hasselhoff. And he's talking about everything he could do and that for him. And then they look at Sally and he says, and I can fix your face. And she says, wait a minute. What do you mean? I'm beautiful or whatever. And he says, no, he goes, I could fix it to where you don't look so tired. And then that gave her a complex. Then he turns and he looks at Harry, French Stewart. And he goes, oh my God. And, there's Harry, it's like, the squinty eyes, and which I know I have the same thing, but, the hairy look. And he goes, he has an absolutely perfect face. And Hasselhoff puts his head up next to French Stewart and he says, we could be brothers. I'm always fine. Even the episodes that I've already seen, I'm like finding things in there, little references that I missed the first time.
Oh, they did drop an awful lot in there. They really did. It was littered with more references than your average episode of Mork and Mindy, which had a lot of references. I mean, you can't stop Robin Williams from dropping references to stuff in. Even if you hand him a script, he's still not going to read most of it.
And for all of the wonderful guest stars that came on there, between Hasselhoff and Shatner and all of them, I gotta say I like the episodes that John Cleese was in the best, because when you got Cleese here and Lithgow here, their comedic demeanor, I don't know maybe if that's the right word or not, or what I'm trying to search the cobwebs of my brain to figure out, but they're both almost exactly alike. And it was after the first episode that Cleese was in with him that I'm thinking, yeah, Lithgow his humor does remind me a lot of Cleese's humor. And I think at the second part of the first time that he was on there, because I think he was on there 2 different times, first was a 2-parter. And the second time that he was on there, I was really seeing it a whole lot more, and I'm thinking, wow, Cleese and Lithgow playing off of each other. It's like they could have been the same person in alternate universes or something.
Yeah, heterodyning off of each other. Yeah. I don't know what word you were searching for, but
well,
I think demeanor is a good substitute. Yes.
It's lost in the cobwebs of my mind, so no. I'm just not using the right bait to fish it out.
Be right back.
Okay.
Oh. So, Carrie, who do you cosplay? I mean, anybody familiar with, or is it a character of your own design or creation?
Well, currently I cosplay as the 11th Doctor. I've cosplayed as the 10th Doctor at least once before, and I'm also cosplaying as a character of my own design.
I know the one that you used to come on here that you used before we finally seen you. On that one, I was familiar with, and I figured that was your own. But
Yeah.
and they actually just had something on the Newsy network tonight. They have these little shows called In the Loop and different things, I guess, that they use as fillers in between whatever's going on in the world. And they were talking about people doing anime cosplay in the digital sense, and that, like how you do in of course Skunk and others, and referencing that when a lot of people first started doing that, that it made a lot of people that might have not been so open to actually open up because of how shielded you are, and you're, it's the man behind the mask, who is he? And it gave people a certain level of comfort to kind of, well, I say so much to come out of their shell, but just to interact a little bit more than what they would in person. And they had this one person on there you saw the animated version of his, the anime version, and not the real version of him, but he kind of made reference to, I would love to get a real hug from a person, but that doesn't really happen. But in this world, it does. And he's okay with it, like that, because better to get it in that world than not at all. And it was a really interesting segment.
It does sound interesting. I would feel bad for him too, not getting a hug, but I'm glad. I would be glad if he did get a hug in that world.
Well, any type of acknowledgement that people get, it's,
Yeah.
I guess the Freudian psychology end of it, they called it strokes. So like with children, they can come up with their big picture that they drew at school and looking for a little recognition, and the parents, pat them on the back and say how great it is. And then of course they put the artwork up on the refrigerator, and that's a stroke in that sense, as a good stroke. But then if somebody isn't getting that type of acknowledgement to the point that they need it, they're looking to get a stroke in another sense, or otherwise being bad, being kind of a Dennis the Menace, maybe in an innocent sense, but doing things to get the attention.
Yeah.
Or the strokes in the other way. And I don't want to drift off into a lot of Freudian stuff, but it just kind of, when I was watching that segment earlier tonight on Newsy, it kind of just turned on that switch in my head and made me think of all that.
Well, it's amazing that so many times people will adopt a persona that isn't necessarily themselves, but it's sort of like themselves as an idealized version, and trying to interact, trying to pick up the social skills, which is so hard for geeks like me, to be able to not be alone in the crowd, and not well, to interact painlessly with other folks instead of being really into something that a lot of people don't understand and can't connect with. But then, you come up with a way to, if not fully integrate what other people are into the way you behave and speak and act, but to at least come up with something you're comfortable with that will kind of mesh and maybe get some of that approbation, those strokes that Bill was talking about. Um, it takes a while until you wind up with the confidence to just be yourself. And of course, you've got to figure out who yourself is before you can even get that far. Sometimes it takes a while, and there are, I don't want to say false steps, but there are a lot of steps to get from being severely introverted to being um, extroverted at conventions, but introverted in your private life, or being where you can interact with some random stranger at a grocery store without any fear of repercussions or whatever. Just there comes a time, and it's different for everybody, that you finally get comfortable in your own skin, and you might still keep elements of that persona as part of yourself, your personality, and then there is a difference between the two. And then you go on from that basis as one of my favorite comedians said in one of his routines. You just There's more to being human than meets the eye, basically. Some of it's trial and error. Sometimes it's trial and terror, and sometimes you manage to figure it out and go from there. People are complicated creatures.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Okay.
But okay, what you mentioned right there, Dan, I don't mean to interrupt you, talking about people being complicated. Does everyone here tonight want to be that way? I mean, do they want to be where, how do I put it? Do they want to be an enigma or something that might make them stand out a little more? Or because see, and part of it's my claustrophobia and that, and I do have problems not acknowledging but receiving any type of pats on the back for either my artwork or whatever, and that because of just that problem. But I'm more one that I tell everybody, well, I'm nothing special. And I think part of it is because I want to blend into the crowd, you know. I want
protective coloration.
Yeah, like my camo here.
Yeah.
You know. And that's what I wonder about, you know, you, John, and Carrie. I mean, how if you had the floppy disk to insert into the side of your head to allow you to be the one that you want to be, I mean, what do you want people to perceive you as? And I don't mean just in your everyone's talents, but just as yourself, you know, all of us meeting at HallowCon and sitting there and having a roundtable discussion or whatever, how, what do you want somebody to walk away from thinking of you? I guess I don't know. I'm stumbling for words here.
Well, myself as an example, I am very, very painfully shy. You would not know it from what I'm doing now and the way I act at conventions, but basically, uh, I grew up not wanting to say a word for fear of attracting anybody's attention, because attracting anybody's attention had most often negative consequences. So I hid. And as I got older, I had a lot of experience dealing with folks that didn't care if I were painfully shy, as long as I was interesting and fun. And I actually got to let that part of myself come out to play. And now I am at the point to where I've got no fucks left to give. What you see is what you get. I don't care what you think, what anybody thinks. I am finally comfortable being me, and I couldn't explain who me is, but somebody I hope is, if not fun to be around all the time, then not painful to have to be around. I can get very boring when I go off on one of my tangents about something I really enjoy that's kind of very niche and not a wide fanhood sort of thing. But
Me too.
basically, I spent a lot of my life as a wallflower and trying not to be noticed. And it took a lot of lifetime experiences for me to become comfortable in my own skin and go, hey, nothing wrong with me being me. If I rub people the wrong way, I apologize, but not going to care. I'm going to be me. So, and I'm not trying to say that I'm kind of average or anything, although I do believe I am rather average, although there are bits and pieces of me that are very unaverage up and down. That's neither here nor there. I can now engage in conversations with random strangers and people at conventions and people at grocery stores or people in a parking lot or whatever, and the fear is gone. There's no did I say the right thing? Am I dressed the right way? Did I part my hair on the right side? Fitting in is no longer applicable. It's no longer it's not a thing. If I don't fit in one place, I'll go find a place where I do. One nerd's journey into adulthood. Film at 11.
And see, I, and tell me, John, if I'm wrong, but because of your military background, or, well, I'll say training, I would think that if you were anywhere like how Dan just described himself initially, that would be remedied because of what you were expected to do or say or act or,
Well, part of it, you did have to learn how to train people to do things. Public speaking will drag you out of being shy against your better nature, whether you want it to or not.
I was always kind of quiet when I was younger, but of course, being in the military for a while, I had to be louder and kind of. You have to learn to adopt a take charge attitude, and I don't. I don't know anything. I don't know if it brought me out of a shell or anything. It just changed the way you have to do things. Somebody has to take charge. Somebody has to be the leader, basically.
Yeah.
You know.
Better you than me.
Somebody told me one time, a friend of mine that was in National Guard for, I think, over 22 years, I think, before he got out. But anyway, he said with him, and he's always been very outgoing, but he described it in a different sense that went from, well, like instead of what you said about being quiet, and then, the military trained you to bring that out from the inside to be loud when you had to be loud, and things that where you're directing or instructing something, whatever the situation would be. His was, he was very outgoing from the get-go, which is true. I've known him for over 45 years, and he always was very outgoing. But when he got into the Guard and all through those years, he went to where it was, I guess, from being like, say, the persona of Hawkeye Pierce to the persona of John Wayne or something, because he knew he had a certain something that he had to do, and he said it's just like a switch you turn on. You got to do this, and this is how you're supposed to do it. So you got to be at a certain level to do it, and so with him it was rather unique because he was outgoing from the get-go.
Well, okay, here's a good illustration for the older folks in the audience who will get the references. I grew up basically being a Jerry Lewis character from movies when I really wanted to be Dean Martin because he was cool. Instead of being goofy, I wanted to be cool. It took me a while to realize that both are useful. And it's fun to have both, goofy and cool, and it's just one of those things where it takes time, and sometimes you have to have that outside nudge to bring you into, if not the limelight, then at least reasonably center stage behind the big star or something where you get comfortable with seeing that there are actually people in the audience and not being afraid to step up and say your lines and take your turn and assist the play to go on. And that was a very twisted metaphor. I'm sorry, but it's not like I've got a script to work from.
Stick to the script, Dan, will you?
Nope, not happening. You'd have getting Robin Williams to read Shakespeare straight than get me to stick to a script. Too much going on behind the eyeballs, and I prefer to have fun. I really prefer to have fun. Um, I can get serious. Ooh, thunderstorm moving down from the north. Do you think Donna turned a fan on and blew it down this way?
Highly likely.
Really. Well, actually, I know the storms that we're having up here and that Donna and Carl are having east of me are coming from the northwest going southeast. So it's possible. It's possible.
Mm-hmm. Dan, you're exactly right. Probably will peak early, but hopefully keep going on and going on and going on. There was a time when I was very young and was privileged enough to be allowed to stay up late and watch chat shows. And my parents have kidded me ever since that I would jump up on the fireplace hearth and pretend to give a monologue like I was a show host, and then go, okay, and now here's our first act, and jump down. And I don't know where that came from or where it went, and now I'm kind of going, ain't that what I'm doing now?
Sounds like a new routine for HallowCon.
Hey, I really am not one for public performances. Joe Dog asked me to participate in part of the some of the ceremonies there, and I had to beg off because I knew if there was a role I had to play, I would freeze up and ruin it. I mean, I don't have that much confidence. I can freeform like anybody's business, but if there's a script, performance anxiety basically is the only way I could describe it. Um, and a lot of people might find that hard to believe about me because I am now a lot more outgoing and entertaining than I used to be when I was a wallflower. I'm not saying I'm an example to hold up to anybody because there was a lot of there's a lot of hard times coming to that stage of maturity. Uh, I would not want to wish that on my worst enemy. If people could just be get go, they would have a hell of a lot more fun in life. But people don't work that way. People are very, very complicated creatures with lots and lots of different motivations and lots of different desires and lots of different fears, some secret and some not so. And trying to integrate all that into your basic self and not a persona. If you could, people know what a persona is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the act, the thing you portray. Basically, it's a character you adopt in certain
It's that
situations.
shtick you do.
Yeah. To have the persona become become the person, or elements of it, since sometimes the persona is not 100% what you would really like to be in real life, but part of it is. So you keep the parts that you really would like, and you kind of let the parts that maybe were not well considered, but it worked for the shtick. Let that kind of drift into the background and hope people forget it in time. Uh, College was very enlightening.
Hmm.
I had the freedom to reinvent myself and acceptance of a a peer group that I really respected and who respected me in turn. I stumbled sometimes. I made mistakes. Um, Learning how to socialize is not easy, but it can be done. I mean, it it really can be done, and it's not something you have to uh, agonize over. Um, you'd be amazed at how many wallflowers blossom later on and don't have to afraid of being themselves anymore. And being afraid is not a derogatory term. It's just that was what I was going through. Was, you know, for some reason, some experiences that were negative, I was no longer comfortable with being the self that I was. And somewhere in there, probably in the middle of third or fourth grade, um, I learned that in order to avoid bullies, I had to become a wallflower, basically. Just hide, protective coloration. Later on, I found the people like yourselves that allowed me to step away from that and blossom, basically. The wallflower bloomed. Um, Probably like one of those century plants that stinks to high heaven, but, got a pretty flower. So stuff happens.
My
And
wife.
now it's raining. I'm glad I've got the exterior doors closed and the ceiling fan turned off. May have to close my window here in a little bit, but it's right there, so.
My wife refuses to believe that I'm shy. She met me in a D&D group that I've been playing with for years. She met me while I was in character. She didn't meet me. She met my Dungeons and Dragons character. And then we started talking. Actually, my ex-psychopath almost made me go to Hungary to clear my head and get the hell away from her. And then my wife and I started talking, and she just refuses to believe to this day that I was ever shy. No matter how much my best friend, who was part of the D&D group as well, was like, no, you have no idea. Back, outside of that group, he never would have looked up. He would have been just like, nope, 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 ain't gonna do it, nope, can't do it. But yeah, she met me while I was in a comfort zone, and just never faded with her. So yeah, that's a benefit. But it's with her and with my kids. I'll sit there and I'll dance in the middle of Walmart and do stupid stuff. I embarrassed the hell out of my youngest in the checkout line of the store. And I'm like, "Come on, dance with daddy," and she's like, "Nope." I'm like, "Yep, nope. You have to. It's part of the contract that you signed." She's like, "I can't sign a contract. I'm too young." I'm like, "It's in your DNA. It was the contract you signed by being born. You had no choice. You don't get to opt out." So, but a lot of my jobs, I ended up having to deal with the public. In high school and stuff like that, I ended up being on front register and stuff like that. And I was taking my cues from Robin Williams and Jonathan Winters, and just projecting just a manic energy that people just are more easy to accept, more accepting of. And then if they saw me outside of work, I was just kind of like meek milk toast and whatever, and they're like, "Aren't you?" And then just and now I teach people how to use computers for a living. So I have to talk to people every day.
I've always been sort of the shy type myself. Um, it's usually once as I started going to conventions more and more, a lot of that. And I still maintain myself as a shy person, but over time I've become a little bit more outgoing, especially after going to so many conventions and after streaming on Twitch for so long.
One of the things that I found, especially in conventions, being on a panel, having to speak in front of people, and Rich is probably shaking his head with me. I'm scared to death, but I'm doing it anyway. And secretly, I'm having a great time, but I'm still scared to death, but I'm doing it anyway. Uh, I don't know if the fear will ever go away, but the fun gets more and more important.
Hmm.
I don't know if any of that's making any sense. I mean, I sound like a $2 philosopher here, but
For those that don't do it, it's probably like double speak and what the hell's going on. But for those of us who do have to get up and in front of people, I mean, it's my job. It's what I get paid to do. If I don't do it, you know, these lights don't get paid. The rent doesn't get paid. So,
hmm
I have to forcefully flip that switch and be that person. And
I got to go close the window. I'll be right back. I'm not even going to shut the camera off. Keep going, Rich. I'm listening.
but yeah, and I I'm paid to be a more energetic, more forceful, more um, public version of me. So it's the character I play is me, just exaggerated, just
Me
um,
plus.
exactly. But uh, so every year we have a group of summer associates come in for all of our offices. I work for a law firm. I'm a technology trainer, and I train um, people on that type of stuff. And we have to teach our summer associates, which are basically law students who are in their third and fourth years who are just doing basically internships as a law clerk, so a non licensed attorney in law firms to figure out what practice areas they want to go into, what firms they might want to go into, and get some real world experience before they graduate, go and pass the bar. So we've got summer associates that come right around Memorial Day. And then just after Labor Day, we usually get our first year associates who are brand new minted attorneys. Some have yet to pass the bar, but they're about ready to pass the bar that are coming in and stuff like that. So I've got to do that. We have rollouts that we put out. We have different applications that we put out on a regular basis. On a regular basis, I'm putting out classes on, okay, this is how you use Excel because you've got this Excel spreadsheet, and I know you don't know how to use it because I used to be on help desk telling you people how to use this stuff. So, um, it's and that's a great benefit for me. Also, is I came from help desk, and you had a little bit more um, anonymity. I'll learn how to say that word fast one of these days, but I can't do it. Um, I will learn how to speak. It's not like I do it for a living. Um, Sorry, running gag. Um,
Comes
but
in handy though every once in a while, doesn't it?
Learning how to speak is one thing. Learning how to pronounce is totally different.
well,
I still stumble over that one.
not only do I have to know how to speak, I have to know how to translate technician to user
Mm.
because I'm teaching people who sometimes barely use a computer at all. weird that millennials and Gen Zers are out there that don't know how to use a computer, considering I'm a Gen Xer and most of my generation knows it backwards and forwards. You'd figure that the generations that come after would be more versed than us. But anyways, I digress. Keep stepping up on these soapboxes. I apologize. Let me get back down.
Do they even make soapboxes anymore?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yes, they still make soapboxes. They're just made out of plastic.
Or cardboard, biodegradable.
Cardboard, yeah.
You got to stack a bunch of those up if you're going to stand on them and not collapse like a house of cards.
Especially my size.
Even us little guys. Should I tell them about? I thought you'd be taller, John.
If you want to.
All right. Being in here and knowing John's personality from in here, I thought he's 8 feet tall and carries a 50 caliber machine gun as a sidearm.
He was expecting Buford Pusser. He expected me to walk in with two.
I was expecting is what I was expecting, and we're the same size, basically. And
Yeah.
I've always grown up thinking I'm a little guy, but I'm 5'11". I'm a midget for my family. My mom's brothers were all 6'3", 6'4", 6'8", whatever. So I grew up thinking I was tiny. But and here we go. First time I meet John in person, I'm going, thought you'd be taller.
I thought he'd be taller.
You're such an imposing personality.
He looks like one of those tall, thin English guys. I was expecting 6 foot tall, at least 6'2", maybe. Just by looking at him. Then I realized it's the internet camera.
So camera angles, yes.
And
part of it is the personality. If you've got an expansive personality, people expect.
How you doing?
People expect an expensive person. But perception is not always reality. Boy, that sounded erudite.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's almost the end of the show.
Oh, bugger. And we don't have a closing anymore.
Apparently Joe's been getting copyright hits for some music that we've been. Okay. He got reported by an Islamic terrorist group for having the American flag at the beginning of the show. They said they had it copyrighted. So he's been getting copyright strikes on some piece of music that we've been. So it's either the piece of music we do at the beginning, the national anthem, or the piece of music that we do at the end, which is High Flight. Which, if I'm not mistaken, the High Flight is in public domain. I'm not certain, but
I do believe it is in public domain because it was used by TV stations as their sign off for decades before TV stopped ending at 11:30.
Anyway, so there's that, and then there's the sock puppet thing we did that Skunk came up with that we do. That it's almost the end of the show, which everybody likes dancing to.
That's like 30 seconds, if that.
It's not even that. It's like
High Flight is public domain in the United States because it was legally published within the United States between 1923 and 1977, inclusive, without a copyright notice.
That would be a great help because if that is the thing that they are giving Joe Dog copyright strikes on, we can put an end to
So
that.
apparently, there's some Islamic terrorist group who every time somebody puts the American flag on their website, they say, "Hey, we own that," and it's a copyright strike or the national anthem or something like that. So
Yeah, they're offended by it, so that's what
they're offended
why
by
they
it because
claim they own it.
Yeah.
they're offended by it because they're in the wrong religion. Yes, I'm just if they're watching, I'm just saying that to really. What are they going to do about it? You know?
They're going to send you spam mail about your car warranty expiring soon.
I will send them.
So Joe Dog
I
ought
will
to
send
make
them a
us.
ham sandwich.
Yeah, that would be torture. That would be torture. Start dropping care packages all over the Middle East and have it all be ham sandwiches.
Spam, 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 spam. Look at that.
They'd probably think that was
Okay.
worse. It had salt in it too.
So you know those little boxes that you pull the little ribbon on and they open up and things fly out like confetti or butterflies or something like that. Diced ham. A ham claymore.
A ham claymore. The military. I don't know if
Excellent
they still
concept.
have it. They had an MRE called ham slices. It was actually one of the better ones. It was this big chunk of ham, about 3/4 of an inch thick, about the size of a paperback book, thin paperback book. Came with some sort of, you know how most ham has that cured seasoning smell to it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was that same thing on steroids because it was designed to last for a very long time. To give you an example, if you ate this, your urine would smell like that for 3 days. That's the one you want to make the claymore out of.
Oh. Well, Joe Dog, you want to do the honors for... Oh, pulled pork barbecue. Yes, indeed.
Bacon. Bacon is
Oh.
good. Yes. Yeah. Bacon
There are rules
They
in
don't
the British
deserve
canal
bacon.
system. There are rules in the British canal system. You cannot fry bacon and go through a lock in a canal. Otherwise, you have to pay a penalty, which is hand the lock keepers your bacon. We're violating all sorts of religious laws tonight.
And with that, we're going to say,
Good night, everybody.
Now watch that be the copyright strike you get tonight.
Yeah.
It's
We've
too short.
We've been good not playing anything the whole time you were gone. And you went and blew it in the last, right at the 1 yard line.
well, let's say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
All right,
Good night,
Indians.
everybody.
Oh, I have slept the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace when never lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
Notice a difference?